What I'll be doing today is I'll just be going through these features step by step, and this is not a full page design. I'm just showing you where these features are just to make things easier. Okay, so today we're broadcasting live on both YouTube and Facebook. So feel free to post your comments in the comments box, and I'll do my best to respond to them. Okay, so without wasting a lot of time, let me dive in and let's start with our tutorial for today. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be working on my demo website. So this is where I'll be doing all my examples. So the first thing we're going to do here is we are going to go through some blending modes. So this is a feature which I think you need to use because it makes it easier for you to make quick changes as you're designing your websites and without the need to go into Photoshop. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by enabling the Visual Builder. So I'm going to click on Enable Visual Builder. And then I am going to add a new section, but this section here is going to be a full width section. So I'm going to click full width, and then I'm going to choose full width header. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to add a basic title. So I'm going to come over here to Lorem 2 and just copy some dummy text. For those of you that know, I don't like typing, so I just use Lorem 2 just to make things easier for me as I'm working on these websites. Okay, so I've just added my title there. If you want, you can add your subheading text. In fact, I might as well just add it here since I have all this text. So I am just going to copy all this and paste it in place. Okay, so that's my subheading text. And then for our button text 1, I'm just going to say test. Button text 2, I'll say start. Right, so that's all we have here. Now, right now, we're not seeing all our information here because I haven't done all my settings yet. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come over here to background, add a background color. Like that. And then I'm going to save for now. Okay, something happened here. It looks like my changings haven't been updated. I'm just going to refresh the page and do this one more time. I'm going to click restore. Now, here's one quick tip. As you're designing, you can actually go in and restore your layouts. So let's do this one more time. I'm going to add, in fact, let me come over here and start a brand new page. So for those of you who are just joining us, this is our Saturday live show where I'm going through my 10 Divi features you need to know. Okay, so I'm just going to call this page test 2, like that. Use the Divi builder, use Visual Builder. Okay, so I'm going to add my full width header like that. Add some text. In fact, that's a bit too much. Right, so that's supposed to be the subheading text. I'm going to come back over here to my Lorem Ipsum text, and then I'm going to paste my text in here for my title like that. So you can see here in the preview that everything is being added. For my button, for my first button here, I'm going to add, I'm just going to call this test. And then for button 2, I'm just going to call this start. Now, this feature that I'm showing you here can be used on any module, but I'm just trying to make it a bit fancy for you. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, because I've got my background and my buttons, I'm going to come over here to Design, click on Layout, and we want this layout to cover the full screen, but we're not going to activate that yet. So for now, I'm just going to make sure that this is centered. I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to drag this to the top, like that. Okay, so now my design is at the top. So the next, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come over here to my section settings, click on background, and no, in fact, let's add our background to our module. So I'm going to come over here to my module settings, click on background, and I'm going to add my color. So I'm just going to add this blue, right? So you can see now it's covering all that area. So next, I'm going to come over here to this third tab, click this plus button to add our image. So I'm going to add my image like that, upload an image. So now we have an image on this header area. Good. So before I apply my first tip, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix this text to make it really stand out. So I'm going to come over here to design, click on layout, and we're going to make this full screen like that. So now this is covering most of our page, which is fantastic. Right, so the next thing I'm going to come to do is going to come over here to text, make sure that this is set to light, because we want this to really stand out on this background. And then what I'm going to do is to adjust my sizing. So I'm going to make this bigger, and I'm also going to make it all caps like that. And instead of regular, I'm going to set it to bold. And then I'm going to come over here to my subhead text, make this bigger, add some line height. Okay, that's a bit too big. So I'm going to, right, so I think that will do. Okay, so my line height is fine. I mean, I could go ahead and also work on the buttons, but for this demo, this is fine. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do here, which is the main tip, is to come over here to background. So we can see here that our background is quite bright. So ideally, I would like to dim this image. So to do that, because already I've added my color in here, and this color could be anything, by the way. I mean, I could even make this black if I wanted. And then, so over here, the tip here is blending mode. So you come over here to normal, click on multiply. So we can see here that the multiply has made this really dark. But don't worry, because we can always come here and lower and add some transparency to this. So you now have full control on how you can make this page really stand out. So you can make it bright. So the reason why we're doing this is because we really want to communicate this this message right here. So you can see we can see the image here, and now we can read this. As compared to this from before, we can't really read this text. So this is how you can use these blending modes to make your designs really cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, before I go into the next tip, which is the borders, in fact, okay. Right, so that was my first tip. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a look at the comments. So I can see here quite a lot of you have signed in. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate that. In fact, let me give it a shout out. So here on YouTube, we have Harsh. He says hello. Hey Harsh, how you doing? We have Douglas. We've got Piyush. I hope I'm pronouncing this well. Piyush says, how are you? How are you doing? We have Claudia, Indresh. Awesome. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Now, I'm going to do something a bit different today. As I was going through my my comments, I came across something very, very interesting, right? So let me share that with you. So as I was going through my comments, okay, so as I was going through my comments, I saw this message from Claudia. And this really got me excited because, you know, when I see people that use these videos to create their own websites, it gets me excited because it really reminds me that people actually do watch these tutorials and do something about them. So when I saw this message here, I was like, wow. So this is fantastic. So I'd like to give a special shout out to Claudia and also show her website. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch to my desktop. I hope you can read this message. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my desktop and show you this website. Okay, so this is the website she managed to build. Okay, so take a look at this. This is really awesome. I mean, it's unbelievable. I hope you can see this. Okay, so that's the website she managed to build following my tutorial. So this is really, really awesome. It got me excited, so I thought I'd share this with you. Okay, so let's go back over here. And also, before I continue, I also would like to say that I have a course which is free. I mean, if you want to learn how to design websites using WordPress, I have a free WordPress course, which is on diviuniversity.com. So I suggest that you go to diviuniversity.com, sign up for that WordPress course, and you can go ahead and learn this for free. The courses are 100% free. And also, if it's your first time on the website, you may notice a discount over there for learning how to design websites using Divi. Now, the Divi course is amazing because it gives you everything that you need to know to design awesome looking websites with Divi. Okay, so let's continue with our tips. Okay, so over here, I'm just going to go back to my, in fact, let me do this. Okay, so back over here, let's do our second demo. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to save, and then I'm going to go into my, in fact, I might as well just continue here. My next tips is about borders. So let me show you how we can use this. So I'm going to click this plus button here. Let's add one column and some text. So I'm going to copy my text from here like that. And then I'm going to search for my text module. Paste my text in my text module. And then I'm going to come over here to design, click on text. And then I'm just going to make this text bigger. I think 26 is fine. Right, so let's add some line height to this so it can look much better. So that's 1.8 is fine. In fact, let me lower this because we don't want to make this too big. Okay, so that's my text. I'm going to come over here and center it like that. And then I'm going to come over here to sizing and just make this slightly smaller. Right, 80% will do, and centered. Okay. Right, so this new tip here that I'm going to share with you is about about borders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll all the way down here, and you will notice a new entry called border. Now, we can do some amazing things here. So you can see here my first icon is selected. I can now add my border just like that. Okay, and here's the cool thing. You can actually come here into the colors and choose the color that you want for your border. So this now makes it easy for us to add borders onto our sections, rows, and modules. So this works on sections, rows, and modules, which is really, really cool. So what else you could do here is you could actually choose which sides you want your border to be on. So here I can choose, say, for example, this one. This side, I can make it bigger like that. I can make it smaller or make it disappear altogether. So this is how you have the flexibility now of changing the borders on each side that you want. So let's say, for example, I need to go with something a bit different here and have a line just on the left. What I could do is I could just go in there and get rid of the borders, the sides, and just leave the side that I'm interested in. So now you can see we just have a line on the left. So this is one of those designs that, design elements that you could use to make your design look a certain way. So that's our second feature. Okay, so I'm going to close this because we don't need to save that. Right, so let's move on to our next feature, which is rounded corners. In fact, what I could do with this is I could add a new two columns. Okay, so one of them is going to have an image and the other one is going to have some text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this plus button here, add an image module, like that. And then I'm going to come over here to image URL and I'm going to choose an image. So I'm just going to go with this image here, click upload an image. In fact, that's a bit too small. Let me choose another one. I'm going to go with, okay, let's go with this lady here, like that. Okay, fantastic. So now we have our image. So this feature here is actually really cool because you can now start adding your rounded corners onto your modules. So let me show you where that feature is. So if I come over here to design, I'm going to click on border. And now we can see we have a rounded corners. So let's say I add 6 like that. Now here you can see that the rounded corners have been added to this image. Now before you would have to use some CSS in order for you to achieve this. So now we have a specific place here where we can go and do our rounded corners. So let's say I'm going to make it a bit more dramatic here and add 10. Now you can see they're more prominent. So you can use this now as a design element. Okay, so not only can you use it on images, you can use it on sections, on rows. So let me give you another example here. So I'm going to add a text module and add some text inside it. So I'm going to come over here to my lorem ipsum text, paste my text in here like that. And then I'm going to come over here to background and add a background color. Right. So I'm going to do a bit of design here just to make sure that this is fixed properly. Okay, so here I've got that. I'm going to come over here to design, spacing, and I'm going to add some padding. So let's add 20. So we're going to add 20 all around. So the reason why I'm adding this 20 all around is just to give this text inside this rectangle some breathing space. So now you can see it's got some breathing space. And then I am going to change the color. So I'm going to come over here to text. So text color is dark. I'm going to change that to light. And I'm going to make it slightly bigger. Okay, let's do that. Right, I know that's a bit too much. But for the sake of this example, we're just going to do that. Okay, so now let's see how we can apply these rounded corners. So again, I'm going to come over here to border, add our rounded corners. And now you can see how beautiful that is. I've just added my rounded corners. So this, as I mentioned before, is a really good feature. You can use this now in your designs without the need of adding CSS. Okay, so I'd like to hear, what you think so far about these features. So far, we're on the third one. We've just covered blending modes, we've done borders, and we also done rounded corners. So let me know in the comments box below if you really like what you're seeing so far. Please add a 1. Okay, so I'm going to take a look now at the comments and see what's coming through. Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. There's a lot of you tuning in here. I'm really excited about this. Awesome. So now I'm on Facebook. I can see a 1 from Girish, I think. Simone, 1. You've got Don. He has a 1 as well. Awesome. Krista says, I love your videos. Thanks, Mac. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Jerry Suarez has a 1 as well. Ariz Azam says, nah, come on. Ariel, sorry. Andy Flint says, you could point out the corners don't all, you could point out that the corners don't have all to have the same radius. Oh, actually, that's a very good tip. In fact, let me show you that right now. Thanks, Andy, for that quick tip. Okay, so let me go ahead and fix that. So I'm going to go back here and just show you quickly. Right, okay, so these rounded corners here. Now, if you take a look at this chain, right? If I enable this chain, I can actually go in here and add specific sizes to each corner, like that. So now you can see that this rounded is now here on the bottom left and the bottom right. In fact, let me add, let's say a 30, so you can really see this nice and big, right? Like that. So now we can see here that this is only at the bottom and not at the top. So you could also have it just on one side, like that. Now, I don't know why you would want to do that, but we have that flexibility. So thanks, Andy, for that quick tip. Okay, so like I said, so far, I've been seeing a lot of ones. I'm going to go now to YouTube and see if there's some feedback on there. Okay, so I'm going to switch over here to YouTube. Let's see what's happening. Okay, I can see a lot of thumbs up. All right, thanks a lot. Okay, so over here I can see very good, very good. Awesome, I can see a lot of ones. Moon says, I'm just tuning in. So if you're just joining in, today we're going through the 10 Divi features you need to know. And now these features that I'm sharing with you will make your designs look really cool. And not only that, it saves you a lot of time to really go into the CSS and do all these changes. So these are the Divi features that I think that you need to know in order for you to just make your design process much, much easier. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Now this one here is quite important because it covers the text options. So let's dive in, let's go to the text options and let me show you what you need to know. In fact, now for some of you, you may know all these tips already. So if you do, sorry about that. I'll be covering a bit more advanced stuff, hopefully stuff that you haven't seen before. Okay, so let's dive in and let's talk about the next feature, which is the text options. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over here and right, so over here on the text options, if I click on text, what we can do now is we can actually search, and I know the search has been there before, but the feature that I need to show you is the preview. So right now I've got default, right? So if I search for my font here, so let's say I'm searching for Aladdin, for example, right? It comes up here, which is good, and it also has a preview. So this preview here is very important because before, we would have to go through this whole list, right? And in fact, what I used to do is I would go to, because all these are Google fonts. So I would go to the Google website, take a look at all those fonts and see the design I like, and then come back to Divi and then start searching for that font. Now, sometimes it didn't really work very well because I would go to the Google fonts and realize that that font is not in Divi. So now with this preview, I can actually go through all these fonts and take a look at what font I need to use. So you can see here as I'm going through this, I'm having a quick preview, right? So if I click on that, that's the font that's selected. So this is really, really cool. Okay, so you may need to just wait a second or a split second to really see this preview if you don't see it straight away. Okay, so you can see there, these are the previews, which is really cool. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to my default font here. So this is a quick feature that you need to do. Now there's another feature which is quite cool. We now have font weights. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come over here and just do a quick demo for you. So if I highlight my text in here, we can see here below we have font weights, right? This was not there before. So I can go for heavy, I can go for bold, regular, light, and thin. So thin is like really, really thin. In fact, I can't even see the text there. But you know what? The option is there now. So this is a quick tip that you could use while you are designing your website. Awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to show you my next tip, which is naming your rows, sections, and modules. So the reason why you want to do this is because when you design your website, sometimes if you have a long page and you're trying to troubleshoot where things are and where you want to fix things, it's quite difficult for you to locate which row or what row it is, which module it is, if they're not named. So let me show you a quick tip on how you can actually do that and make your work much easier. So I'm over here at my expand settings right here at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a wireframe view. Okay. So here in wireframe view, you can actually go in here and name that row. So let's say that row needs to be set as, let's say, dummy text. So you can see here, I can give this my specific descriptions. Let's give this, and we can also do that to the section. So here on the section, I could call this second section, for example. Like that. Now, my recommendation here is when you name these sections and rows, you need to make sure you're naming them according to the elements or the information that's within them, because that only makes sense. Because when you're troubleshooting and you're looking at your page and you want to find where things are, it just makes it easier for you to just go in there and just see, okay, this is my second section. I can go in and troubleshoot whatever you need to troubleshoot. So it makes things easier that way. Okay. So that's my tip about naming rows, sections, and modules. So again, you can come in here and name this. So this is an image. So we could say product image, for example. Product image. I know this can sound like it's an extra job, but trust me, when you have pages, long pages, which have a lot of content, it's much, much easier for you to just go in there, find the information that you need, and make those changes. Okay, so that's my tip. I'm going to go back to my view right here. Okay, let's move on to number 6. Okay, so if you're just joining us, this is our Saturday live show where we go through some Divi tips, in fact, even some WordPress tips. So today I'm going through 10 Divi features you need to know to make your design process much faster and much, much better. Okay, so my next tip is exporting layouts. Now, this feature is, in fact, it really saved my life when I was designing, when I had a job of designing quite a lot of websites, because I could actually export my design, which then I could use on other websites that I'll be working on, and just make a few tweaks. So this feature here is really, really cool. So let me show you how that works. So if I come over here to the bottom of the page, you'll see these two arrows, one pointing up, one pointing down. So this is the portability. So if I click on that, straight away you can see here we have an option which says export. So I can name this, let's say Saturday demo, right? And I can actually export this layout like by just clicking that button. And I don't know if you saw that went really fast. It actually downloaded, and this is now, in fact, let me show you this in my Finder. Okay, so it's exported as satdemo.json file. In fact, it's right here at the bottom of the screen. So now I can actually share this layout that you're seeing right now with you. So that makes it much, much easier. Now, when you put this together, it has all the elements. It has all the images. It has all the fonts. So this is a really cool way of sharing your layouts as you're designing your websites. Or if you're in a design agency, you can actually, or you're a freelancer, you can save this layout to be used on a different website. So this will save you a lot of time. And also, if you want to maybe even sell that layout, you can actually make some money doing that. So you can actually sell these. In fact, I've shared quite a few of these layouts on diviuniversity.com. So if you go to the previous posts, you can actually see some layouts that I designed and shared with the community. Awesome. Okay. So let me see in the comments so far what you think about these tips. So the first one was the blending modes, and then we went to the borders. I showed you how to do the borders. The rounded corners was number 3. Number 4 was text options. Number 5 was naming your rows, sections, and modules. And the one that we've just done is exporting layouts. Okay, so I'm just going to go here and take a look at the feedback from the audience. Okay. Awesome. There's a lot of activity happening here. So I'll just try and read as much as I can. We've got Krista here saying, I love your videos. Thanks, Mac. Awesome. Thank you very much. Muntasir, I think, says great help. I can see a lot of thumbs up. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yatir says, good to see you live. Alex, thanks for tuning in. Simone, I think I've mentioned Simone. Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the feedback. Really appreciate it. Okay, so over here on YouTube, Nubian says, you slow down a bit instead of rushing through your stuff. It's good, but always remember you're teaching others. Okay, I'm glad that you can follow through. Awesome. Victor, I think Victor's just joined us. How many type of fonts is ideal for a website? Okay, that's a very good question. In fact, I might as well deal with this. Now, when you're designing your website, it's a rule of thumb that you have a maximum of 3 different fonts. The reason why you want to do that is you don't want to mix, you don't want to confuse your message on your website. And as in design itself, graphic design or even design, ideally you want to have 2 fonts, right? One maybe for your headings or things that you need to really highlight, and then the rest can be in a specific font. Now, what I do in my designs is I use font weights. So let's say for my titles, in fact, I use one font and then I use different font weights. So for my title, I may use a bold or yes, I could use even like a bold for my headings. And then for my normal text, I can just use a regular. So I would say stick to maximum 2. So if you want to go above 2, you could get away with it, but you do need to know what you're doing. But yeah, so that's my tip for you. Sids says joined late. No, it's okay. I mean, there will be a replay. And if you're just joining us, these are the 10 Divi features that you need to know. Right. I've got a question here from Sylvia. Sylvia says, can you increase the space between the text and buttons? Yes, you can. That's possible. In fact, I'll make a note in here. That's letter spacing. Okay. I will show you briefly how to do that. Saeed says, you're super cool. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate it. Awesome, awesome. Okay, this is looking good. Let's move on to our next tip. Now, our next tip is really cool because this is something that I would always go to Photoshop and make my changes and then, export it as an image and add it to my website. But now, this feature we have is actually now in Divi. So let me show you what that feature is. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a new section. So I'm going to click this plus button here. Oh, sorry. I thought you could see my screen here. Okay. Right. So I'm going to click on regular section. All right, so in here, I'm going to add my text module like that. And then in this text module, I'm just going to add my dummy text. Right, so I'm just going to copy that and paste it in here. Right, so I want this to be my main heading text. So I'm going to select it and name it heading 1. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come over here to design, click on heading text, and then I'm going to make this really, really big like that. Okay, I'm even going to go and choose a font which is really bold. In fact, not that one. So I'm going to go through here. Okay, I think I like that one. Okay, let me just remove that comma because we don't need that. Right, so back over here to my heading text. I'm going to make this all caps like that. Add some letter spacing. Oh, that's line height. In fact, I'll add a bit of line height and some letter spacing. Okay, so to show you the next feature, now this is text shadows. Right, so now we are able to add some text shadows. So here's my first one. You can see that just by clicking here on the default option, now we have some shadows on the bottom there, which is really cool. Now, I can now customize this and really move this shadow vertically or horizontally. I hope you can see this on my desktop. Unfortunately, I can't zoom into that, but this is what you can do. You can do this vertically as well, like that. Okay, so that's really cool. So that's a text shadow. There's some presets here that you can use. So here's another one. I really like this one. And you can also come over here to the shadow color and add a different color. Now look at that. You know, this is something that we couldn't do in Divi by default. We would need to have some CSS in order for us to achieve this. So you can see this is a really cool design which we can now apply within Divi. Okay, so I'm going to go to one more example here. So you can actually use these presets as your starting point. So I'm going to come over here to this color and just make this and remove the transparency. Okay, so now that I've removed the transparency, you can see now that is really bold and it really stands out. So that's one feature that I think is really cool. So if you really like this feature, give me a thumbs up on Facebook or also on YouTube, because this, to be honest, is one of my favorite ones. So if you agree with me, just give me a thumbs up. I'd like to see, what you guys think. Okay, awesome. Now let's move on to the next one. Now this one here is a box shadows, right? And again, for this, I'm going to do a quick example. So I'm going to save this for now. And let me add a new section. So I'm going to click this plus button here, click on regular. And this time I'm going to use 3 columns like that. So just bear with me as I add all my information that needs to go into these columns. Right, so I'm just keeping it simple here because I could use so many design options to make this really stand out. But this is just for me to show you how we can apply this. Okay, so I've got my text in here. I'm going to make my text slightly bigger, like that. Add some line height. Okay, so I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to come over here to my section settings. I'm going to make that slightly bigger. So I'm going to come over here to sizing and I'm going to use custom width. And right, so 80% is fine. In fact, I may just bring this down to about 75. Okay. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to show you how we can use these box shadows. But before I do that, I'm just going to duplicate these and drag them into position like that. One more time. Drag this into position. Okay, so now I have them in position. In fact, let me just make this slightly smaller. Okay, so that's perfect. Right, so how these box shadows work, in fact, these can be found on all sections, rows, and also modules. So in the example here, I'm going to use this on my text module. So I'm going to come over here to my module settings, click on design, and then I'm going to come on box shadow like that. So again, you know, the starting point here is we have these presets which we can, you know, use to start off with. So which is really cool. So if I click on that, now you can see that I've just applied a shadow behind this text module. So I can see here that it doesn't look really nice because our text is too close to, it's suffocated pretty much in our text module. So what I'm going to do to fix that is to come over here to spacing, and then I'm going to add some margins. So I'm going to add 20 to the top like that. Okay, so that's much better. So you can see quickly how we've managed to add this box shadow onto our module. So this can be used on all sorts of modules. In fact, let me do one more on an image. In fact, let's use the image that we have already. So I'm going to come over here to my image settings, to my module settings, click on design. So we're dealing with box shadows. So here are some examples that we can use. So I've just added this example here, and let's add a color to that. Remove the transparency. So now we can see that we can add all sorts of box shadows. So this one here, again, you can adjust all your settings like that. So you can play around with these box shadows and come up with really cool designs. So I'm going to save this for now, come back to this one and show you another example. So here on this box shadow, I'm going to use this one here. And again, I'm going to go into spacing and add my padding. Okay, so this is now what you can do with the box shadows. So go ahead and use these creatively. Okay, so the next one, which is number 9, is animations. Okay, so animations is really cool. So again, let me show you how to do that. I'm just going to save this for now. So these animations can also be used on sections, rows, and modules. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this to the top because we're going to apply our animation to this text module. So I'm going to come over here, click on module settings, click on design, click on animation. So again, we have all these animation presets that we can use. So let's start off with fade. So you can see here the fade just went briefly, but the good thing is we can come over here and adjust the delay. Okay, so you can see now there's a delay as I'm making these adjustments, right? And also you can start, you can also add the starting opacity like that. Animation duration, you can also, work with animation duration here. And if you want this to repeat or loop, you can do that. So you can see here, now it's looping. So there may be some cases where you'd want to use that, but the most important thing is the option is now there. So now we can add some animations to our designs as we're making our designs, which is really, really awesome. Right, so let's change that. In fact, let me remove the loop, and we can use slide if we wanted to. So now we can see it's sliding in, and right now my loop is still enabled, so I'm just going to remove that. So you can go through these. Now this is the bounce. So again, you also have all these parameters here that you can go to and make your customizations and have this work the way you want it. Okay, so we are one away from number 10. And in fact, I have a bonus one, so you have to make sure that you stay tuned in for the bonus tip. So now we're moving on to number 10. But before we do that, what I'm going to do is I am going to just check and see if we have some comments or if we have any questions. So over here on YouTube, I can see a lot of thumbs up. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Okay, let me see. I never understood what is a child theme, though I follow all your tutorials. How can I understand it better? Yes, I do have a tutorial on it. What I'll do is I will link to that tutorial. Okay, what is a good number? What is a good number to round an image to a perfect circle? I think it's 50, but I'll need to double check that. So, I mean, in fact, what you could do, and let's take a look here. In fact, what you could do is you can just test to see the sizes, make it bigger and bigger and bigger on the rounded corners and just see what makes it a full circle. But I think it's 50. But again, it also depends on the size of the image. So if the image is massive, you also need to add, your corners, a larger number to the corners. Okay. Right, so let's come over here to Divi. Usman Amin says, any tips for a good agency website or downloads? Yes, in fact, if you go to elegantthemes.com, there is a layout pack that we gave away for free. This is for a design agency. It's well designed, so you may want to go to the blog and download that. Okay. Simone says, that's cool, naming rows and sections. Awesome. Okay, Yatu says, Matt, can you teach us how to use parallax on mobile? Yes, I could do that, but I think this will be for another video, or I could do a separate tutorial for that. Okay, really cool. There's a lot of feedback in the comments here. Awesome. Alex, Alex, I can see your emoticons there. It has the teardrop. Awesome. Okay. That's Alex Zilk. I hope I pronounced that well. Okay, awesome. So let's move on to our last feature, which is the Visual Builder options. So if you're just joining us, this is our 10 Divi features that you need to know in order for you to work well in Divi and create a very good website. Okay, so let's go back over here to our site and let me show you that brand new feature. Right, now for this, in fact, let me get my page ready because I have a very good example here that I can show you, which this really applies to. So just bear with me as I go to my page here. Right, in fact, I forgot which page it was. Oh, in fact, I've got it. Okay, awesome. Right, so let me show you how we can use our last feature. So what I'm going to do here is, because I disabled the Visual Builder, I'm just going to go back in and enable the Visual Builder. Right, so my next feature is the Visual Builder options. Okay, so if you don't know what that is, it's right here. I'm going to come over here right to the bottom here where we have our expand settings. And over here to the extreme left, we have now these three little dots. I don't know if you've noticed it with all these updates coming through, but this feature is very, very important, especially if you use the Visual Builder for your designs. So let me click here and show you what's hidden behind these three little dots. So here we can see now we have the builder settings. Okay, this is something that we didn't have before. So we have 3 modes, so you can actually enable these 3 modes, and these 3 modes are the hover mode, the click mode, and the grid mode. Okay, so I'm going to click on these to activate them, and as I'm activating them, I don't know if you can see this, but it's right here at the bottom. They're all now activated. So by default, we are in the hover mode. So the hover mode just pretty much means that you're gonna, as you're designing your site, the item that you need to make changes to or you need to adjust is the one that shows up when you highlight on it. Okay, so let's say I need to make some changes here. I can just highlight and go in. Now, sometimes it can be a bit tricky to find the specific item that you need to make the change to. So what we would need to do is to go into our wireframe mode and then locate the item that we need to make the changes to. Let's say, for example, in this case, it's service 1. So I'll click the gear icon, and then I would click this desktop view to go back to our view. Okay. Now, with this new feature now, which is the click mode, we don't have to do that anymore, or at least now we can specifically see where all our modules sections are. So I'm going to activate this click mode, and now if I hover over this, we can see specifically where my module is, and I can now click on it. And now that I've clicked on it, it stays on the page, which means I can now go in and make those changes. So now you can see if I'm hovering over the other items, this is the one that is highlighted. So I can easily now go in and make my changes. So click mode just means you're clicking on the item that you need to make the change to, and it stays selected until you're done doing all your changes. So I think this is really cool. And the other thing as well is you can actually see where your module or your a section ends in your design. So if I were to just take a look at this, and I wouldn't know how much padding I have on the sides, I wouldn't know, if this is really close to the next item on my page. So by highlighting this, now I can see the lines around it, so I can pretty much tell, okay, this is where I need to add my padding or my margins to, because I have now a visual where I can see where everything ends, which I think is really cool. So that's your click mode. The third one is the grid mode. So in the grid mode, if I activate it, it just shows everything. So this is where it shows where everything is on your page. So again, you can activate this and see exactly where everything is in your design. So I think, again, this is a really good feature because visually, you can go in and make your specific changes. So let's say, for example, I need to go into this title here. I can click on it and it stays there because I can see that it's there. I can also go into my module sections, make my changes here. So let's say I need to make this text slightly bigger, like that. In fact, that's a heading. Okay, let me save this. Okay, I'm going to come over here, text. So I can come in here, make it bigger if I wanted to. But as soon as I save, my grid stays in place. So this is something that you could start using right away. So I thought I would share that with you. It has worked really well for me because I'm a fan of the Visual Builder. So having these features here can make our work much easier as we're designing our pages. Okay, so that was number 10. So the bonus one, and this is the one I use all the time. Now the bonus tip here is the shortcut to save and exit the Visual Builder. So if you want to save, if you're on a Mac, it's Command S. If you're on a PC, it's Control S. So let's say, like right now, I've made some changes to this. So all I have to do now is to hit Command S to save, and that saves my page. So that saves me from going down to the bottom of the page and clicking save over and over again. So with this shortcut, I can just press Command S, and that saves my page. Now, let's say you want to exit the Visual Builder. Again, there's a shortcut for that. Instead of coming all the way here and clicking on Exit Visual Builder, all you need to do is to hit the Command E. Okay, so now that has exited my Visual Builder, and if you're on a PC, it's Control E. Okay, so that's pretty much everything that I have for you today. I'm just going to go one more time and take a look at the comments, if we have any. Right. Adam says, hi, Mac. You cannot even imagine how great job you do. Thank you very much. It means a lot to me. When I see these comments, it really makes me motivated to make more and more of these videos. Thank you very much for that comment. Jerry says, awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you very much. Now, just as a feedback, if you really like the tutorial today, can you just show by giving me a thumbs up on Facebook or just liking it on YouTube? I'd really appreciate that. And also, if you're new to web design, I also have a free WordPress course, which you can go and access right now on diviuniversity.com. So if you go to diviuniversity.com, that tutorial is right there. You can that course is there. It's absolutely free, so you can go in and start learning. And also, there is a discount on diviuniversity.com, 50% off on the Divi course. So you can, take advantage of that. So you're getting a 50% discount. Okay, so I'm going to come over here to YouTube. Let's see. I can see a lot of thumbs up here. Thank you very much. All right, so for all of you that have tuned in today, I really appreciate you coming on the show. And I'll do this again next Saturday around about the same time. And I will be doing some brainstorming and see what other cool features I can share with you. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate that, and have a lovely weekend. Cheers. Bye.